your own personal career has been somewhat tempestuous due to the fact that you've everything's kind of been on the table. It's always been straight, maybe a little bit too straight, a little bit too candid for some people. Getting back to the beginning of, say, the Stooges, I guess this question should be more, maybe a little more specific. So, she basically a matter of you just, I guess, almost sort of subconsciously going in a certain direction. There was no real intention in forming the Stooges other than to just create a vehicle to express yourself.
No, not quite so easy as that. Does he mean in creating the sound of the Stooges, how the sound came about, or just the reason for starting the band, you mean?
Yeah, it's nothing that specific. I would say more like motivations.
The innovations.
No, motivations.
Oh, he wants to know about my motivations. Yeah. Sure, basically it works like this. I got to be 14, and I was really lucky enough to start drumming in a band and making money on the weekends doing it. I had a union card. The band was in junior high school, but we started playing, and when I was in high school, we were called the Iguanas, and we started playing weekends on fraternities. And as I was reaching that age, where you're about 18 and a young man has to decide, what am I going to do with my life? All the other indications in my life pointed me toward I was supposed to be a lawyer or somebody high in a corporation. I was an articulate and very well-educated person from a good background, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to live that life. I liked Sinatra records. I loved rock and roll. I liked the Motown stuff that was coming out. And I liked the way it felt when I'd be playing my drums and people be dancing. I liked traveling. I liked going to the next town to play a gig. Wow, we're traveling somewhere. And I liked the attention. I liked the attention from girls. I liked the musicians I met. Hey, you had something to talk about, with your mates. You felt like a kind of a secret group, So when I got to be about 18, I just took a deep breath, went, right, I'm quitting college and I'm going to be a professional musician. And that's that. And there was no real reason for me to hope that I'd ever be able to succeed or make money at it. It was an emotional decision. And then what I did next was I played drums in bands professionally full-time and got nowhere, and finally decided, yes, if I'm going to really express myself, it's going to have to be music that I write, and I'll find a band to play the stuff I write, and that'll be my vehicle as an author.
So it's not that much different from other people at the same time, which it must have been middle 60s.
It was in the, I formed the Stooges in 1967, yes, early 67. And at first I had no idea what sort of music we would play. And when I started to write our music, I was listening to a lot of Eastern music and Middle Eastern music at the time, and also a lot of the experimental American composers, and also I still loved Motown and the Kingsmen and cheap rock and everything, and the Stones, of course. And a lot of the music I was making up was soft, and a lot of it was very complex. But I quickly realized that there were hundreds of bands in my Detroit area. I had to make a living, too. I had to get ahead. I had to get an audience. So I quickly cut the crap and got down to what works, right? And what worked for me was, let's throw out all the extra stuff and let's just make it with really just a few chords and a good beat, and it'll be loud, and we'll play so loud and with so much open chords that the overtones, the chants, harmonies of the chord will be as important as the actual music we're playing. And that was the first ethic for the Stooges. The other ethic that was very important was that it will be a dance-oriented performance, and that I'll get on stage and give people something to look at as well. That's how we started. Also, there were at the time I was also using many instruments of my own invention on stage. I was playing a vacuum cleaner, and people laughed, but it sounded beautiful. It was like the desert wind. I was using a household blender with this much water in the bottom, sticking a microphone just here, and it made a sound like a waterfall. And I'd play, we'd have open chord like rhythms, but going behind this. I had a feedback machines that I had built. I built our drummer a set of drums made out of oil cans that I found in junkyards. It was an exciting time. As we began to get popular, I streamlined us more and more until eventually we were just standard rock and roll instrumentation. Also, as we began to get more popular and we started wanting to think about making a record and gaining fans, we began to make the music, try to make it more familiar in nature to people who liked rock and roll. So it was half filling out my dreams and half being very practical. Kind of like that.
This I guess is a question that pertains to an area a little bit further down the road from that, and there may be somewhat of a gap here between what actually happened and his perception of what happened. But he's always been under the impression that you had been involved in a career that there was quite a bit of danger involved in it. In that the performances were sometimes a little bit on the dangerous side. There was drugs involved.
He's absolutely right. There is a lot of danger involved, but I have the kind of personality, especially had even more so then, where for some reason I knew that nothing really bad was ever going to happen. But to everybody around me, everybody else was scared shitless.
What was the main concern?
Well, the main concern stemmed from this. The fact that often I would cross the line between audience and performer. Sometimes I would pick up girls from the audience, throw them over my shoulder, and carry them off backstage. Sometimes I would fling myself off the stage and into the audience. Several times doing that. Sometimes they'd catch me, sometimes they wouldn't. And I lost a front tooth that way. Little things. Sometimes there were times when I decided to take all my clothes off. Once I did that, and I got put in jail and overnight. And to teach me a lesson, they put me in a jail with hardened criminals, hoping I'd get raped. But I didn't. There were many chaotic situations where we would play, if the Stooges played for big crowds, sometimes I incited them to tear down the stage barriers. And just because I just didn't like it. And so we'd get in trouble with the police, or there would be problems. But more often there was a lot of danger from people who just hated our band and wanted to get us. There was a period where very often people used to throw amazing things at the stage. Large gallon wine jugs, full beer cans, things that could really hurt you. Grapefruits, eggs, stones, fish. I had fish once. These instances usually were sporadic. It was not all the time, and they weren't always central to the music. But I was a flamboyant personality, and what can I say? Drugs probably played a part in that too. But basically, the one thing you could say is nobody who ever saw me forgot.
His question was, did you ever stop to sort of think that maybe it was all wrong, that perhaps you were on a course to self-destruction? No.
No.
Was it just a case of youthful exuberance, or?
It was youthful exuberance, and the fact that in those days, in those days I could go out and I